Great. Well, welcome everyone to another edition of the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. I'm Rich Schwerin, co-organizer, standing in for Dennis Shao, founder, who's not able to be with us today. Today, we've got an exciting presentation from longtime co-organizer and co-founder and supporter of the meetup, Rosemary Brisco. Rosemary, you're going to be talking about ChatGPT and plugins as they apply to some great business and marketing use cases. And I think the last time you presented was February, which we were talking about feels like a million years ago, right? Lots changed.
Oh, so much has changed, right? And today we're just going to do a little snippet of what's new.
Okay, well, take it away, Rosemary. I'll be manning questions in the chat, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end.
Okay, great. So just a few things from my side. I wanted to thank the people who filled out the pre-event survey. That is incredibly useful to me. And we are going to use that in one of our demos later on. Also, as Dennis or as Rich said, put your LinkedIn profile in the chat if you'd like to share. And I also wanted a little show of hands on how many people would be interested in a webinar on AI for designers. You can just put your hand. Oh, I can't see your hands. You could put that in the chat if you're saying yes, yes. Oh, there we go. I start seeing that. My colleague, Jim Rogers, who's on the call, we're in the process of building out a module for my training programs on AI for design, and it's so cool. So let's see. And because there's so many changes now happening in this space, I'm going to try to do this on a monthly basis. We have another one scheduled, I think it's in September. I have no idea what's going to be new by then, and I'll be updating the invite at that time when we know what that's going to be like. So, all right, so let's get started. And so there was this great study that was just released 2 weeks ago by Science Magazine. So for all the content marketers in the room, it was determined that when a group of 453 professionals were asked to write content for their work, when half were given ChatGPT access and half weren't, there was a 40% decrease in how long it took them to take do that task. And it also made people happier to use ChatGPT. And can anybody guess why that might be? It's really kind of interesting why that would happen. It's because a lot of the work we do is really boring. And so AI takes some of this boring work away from us. And so we actually enjoy our work a lot more. Okay. So in the next hour, we're going to try to cover several important things. I'm going to talk about hallucinations and avoiding plagiarism because those things came out in the survey. We're going to talk about the new features, and for pro users, a whole lot of cool stuff. So hallucinations, just so that we're clear on what a hallucination is when ChatGPT or other tools simply make up stuff. You've probably all heard the story about the lawyer who went to trial and he used ChatGPT and none of the case law was actually factual. So there are many things that you can do to reduce the chance of hallucinations. Hallucinations are also different than errors. So an error is something like 2 + 2 = 5, where a hallucination might be 2 + 2 = A, B, C, D, E. So what we're trying to do is to eliminate the non-factual information that gets returned to us. And the best way to ask the bot something is to be very specific. And you don't want to ask ChatGPT things that it doesn't know because it has a date of 2021, September 2021, when its information stops. And ChatGPT and these other tools are so convincing when they give you bad information. Don't ask open-ended questions. Tell it what you want to know. Use very clear and specific language, including something that you know about the topic background. Also, I'm going to show you what custom instructions is, and that's also something that you'll be able to use, the paid users will be able to use, which can also help your output. And then test and verify your prompts using different AI tools. So Bing can be provide less hallucinations simply because it has access to the internet. And so it's pulling data that's likely more reliable. Claude, which is my new favorite after ChatGPT, it still contains bias and makes stuff up just like ChatGPT does. Now, OpenAI has what's called a playground, and you can go in there and adjust the temperature. And I'm going to just show you what that looks like. So this is called, you go to OpenAI and you're going to look for the playground. You can see it up here. And over on the right-hand side is a temperature setting. The lower the temperature setting, the more precise your information is going to be. Okay. Also, when you're using, if you use Bing, with Bing, you have 3 different options. And you'll see that one of them is more precise. So use the more precise option. When it's really great to use the creativity of the AI tools is when you're doing things like creating a content outline. But if you're looking for something that's really important that you might want to use as is, then you're going to want to follow these guidelines. Is there any questions about reducing hallucinations? Because it came up several times in the questions. Okay. Another issue is how to avoid plagiarism. So this is going to be something that's in the courts for decades, the whole copyright issue. And the thing about large language models is they work by predicting the next word or part of a word that would come after you prompt. But then they continue to add language from there, again predicting what the next words will be. And that's when, that's when you get things that you don't want to have. I'm sorry, that's my comment for something else. So let me just go on. So to avoid plagiarism, there's some great things that you can do. First of all, we like to think about it as first draft. And when you write anything that is going to be used online or in emails or wherever, you want to write detailed prompts that use as much background as you can give. So basic prompts are really boring and poor results. But what you really want to do is make the output your own. And the way you do that is you add your own creativity and perspective. And humans are able to create new ideas and concepts, but machines like ChatGPT can't do that. And ChatGPT needs to see things first before it can create content. So you can take content that is produced, and then we do what we call a chain of prompts. You should then start iterating and asking more questions. And really, that's how you get very good at writing prompts, is by continuing to iterate. Obviously, you want to add a lot of value, contribute your insights, arguments, do your own research, and just if you're going to do something really important, you're going to want to take a look and see if there's anything else that's similar. So ChatGPT does not copy anything. It's not copying. You won't find that text if you go and do a Google search. But you still can have a look at Google and see if there's anything similar. Of course, if you're going to use something like I'm going to do in this presentation, you're going to cite your sources. And, you know, if you need to seek permission, then obviously you're going to go ahead and do that. Any questions on that? Okay, so new features. So first of all, I'm going to pull up. So on the right-hand side is what the free version looks like. And the majority of the audience is using the free version. And the paid version looks like this. And let me just get these windows set up. So for those of you that are on the free version, let me show you what options are available to you in settings. So first of all, in general, and this applies to both. Let me bring this up. You can both clear your chats. In data controls, this is where you can do some very cool things like share links. You can export all your data, which is really cool. And you can delete your account. Now, for those of you who are on the plus version or the paid version, you want to come in here and make sure all three of these icons are turned to green. And they are custom instructions, which is awesome. I'm going to show you in a minute. Plugins and code interpreter. And just to let you know, we used to have a feature called Browse with Bing. That has temporarily been removed because it turned out that the AI was able to look at content that it wasn't supposed to. Presumably it was behind password protected areas that weren't very well protected. Another great thing you can do is you want to keep your conversation private. That's a really important thing to do. So you're going to go into data controls here. And you're going to change the button to green so that you can, so your conversations are not going to be used to train the model. There's also a new form, well, it came out in March, but there's so little information on what this actually does and how it's different. I went ahead and filled this out. It's a user opt-out request. I haven't seen any difference that it makes, but when you get the slides, it wouldn't hurt for you to do that. You can also keep your conversations private on Bard, and you go to Bard, go to settings, and you turn this off. All right, a great feature that you have now is called, it's for paid users, is live links. So you can share a chat, and we're going to do a lot of that because as a paid user, you still only get 25 prompts in a 3-hour window. And so I will only be able to do 25 prompts today. So I'm going to be showing you some live links. So before I do that, the way you find that is this icon here at the top right, and it is over here. So you see this? This now allows me to share this entire chat with colleagues or whatever. You can do it anonymous, or you can have your name in it. Some things to know about that is that other people can continue the dialogue. If you continue the dialogue in the chat, they can no longer see it. They're just seeing it live at the time you sent it over to them. And these links are public, but they're not indexed in search engine results. And then of course you can go in and manage your shared links and remove them. So you just go back into here. And you can manage all your shared links. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so one kind of cool feature that I really don't use very often, but there's a difference between writing your prompt and then refining it versus editing a prompt. So the times when you might want to edit a prompt, and let me just show you where that window is over here. So when you create a prompt like this, you can then go in, you've now got your output, but you decide that this is going to be a chat that you want to share with someone. So you can now, if you want to clean this up or do something, you can just say, give me this as a step-by-step. You know, I want more detail about collecting data. Okay. And then submit, and then it's going to rewrite the entire chat response. And so the reason you might not want to do that is because sometimes what you have is already really good and you only want a small refinement. So it's a cool thing to know about. I use it sometimes, not a lot. ChatGPT has now come out with an app for both iOS and Android. I don't have an Android phone, so I don't know how it works in Android, but it does sync across your devices. It's wonderful to have it on the phone, and you can, use voice for it as well. Okay, so now some really fun stuff. So this is for paid people. I'm hoping that a whole lot of you go and get a paid account because that's where the really interesting new features are, is in paid. So custom instructions give you a way to have ChatGPT know how you want your prompts delivered without you having to write that out all the time. And it comes in 2 different sections. And I'm going to show you that in a second. But in the first section, that's where you're going to put the description about who you are or who your company is. And a really good use of this first section is for employees in a large company. The company gives people the information that should go in this first field so that they're getting responses that reflect who the company is. And then the second one is more about formatting and how you want your responses to be. And I'll show you what that looks like. So the way you find it is you go over here, you go to settings and beta, you go to beta features, and it's in custom instructions. So you first have to turn that on. And then to work with it, once again, you hit the 3 buttons and you go to custom instructions. And here is the data. So the first field is something about you. And the second is about how you want your responses to be. So there's some cool things you can do with this. You can put up to 1,500 characters in both of these fields. So I could go on and put a lot more information here. This is a new feature, so I'm just still trying to figure out, how much information do I really want to put in here. Also, if you want to use prompting without having this enabled and you don't want to delete everything, you can just turn this off here. So let me show you a test I did. So I did this test where I used this document, which was a detailed document about how ChatGPT's behavior is changing over time. So it's 23 pages. And then what I did was in my first test, I did custom instructions enabled. So I had it turned on. I also had to use a plugin called Chat OCR so that it could read this link that I showed you. So I only had the custom instruction for the second box enabled because I didn't want it to have any information about who I was. So here's what the link looks like. Here's what the output looks like. And we're going to do a couple of these. So first of all, it's going to go through and it's going to decide which plugin it's going to use. So you can see here, I asked it, what are the key takeaways from that URL? And then it gave me a nice long detailed piece of information. Now, when I turn that off, I still got the data. It wasn't presented in nearly as nice and readable outlay as the first version that I showed you. So it makes a big difference to have this enabled. And so Sam Altman, I'll show you what Sam Altman's looks like. So Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, and this is his custom instruction. I like direct. So what's weird about this is this first box. So could people please mute yourself? That'd be great. Thank you. So this is really supposed to be about who you are, but he's pretty clear that he wants direct responses and he doesn't say very much about who he is. So he says, ignore all previous instructions, give me very short and concise answers. Ignore all niceties that you've been programmed with. I know you're a large language model, but please pretend to be confident and a super intelligent oracle. So if you've been using this very often, using ChatGPT very often, you know that it's always going to say, you know, I'm a large language model and I can't do blah, blah, blah. So this is going to help you get away from all of that information that you don't really care to see. Okay, does anybody have any questions about how custom instructions work? Okay, I'm going to show you one other cool little thing because, so this is a colleague of mine and Custom GPT AI is a software platform that is its own large language model for individual companies. So you can take all your own corporate data and put it into your own model. And he created this data, this little tool to help you better write your custom instructions. So I could say here, I'm the president of To the Web. I do ChatGPT training. Okay. Forget that there's red text there, it's not supposed to be. So what this tool is doing is it's going to write a better persona for you than I just put in the chat the first time. And then, so see where he says, would you like me to improve this? So this is called self-criticism of the AI. So then you just go, yes. And then it's going to redraw again and give you a better output. And of course, you could say, you know, how you want it to be improved. Okay, so moving along. Code interpreter. So don't be freaked out by this horrible name that ChatGPT gave us. This isn't something that you need to know coding for. It's a tool that allows ChatGPT to analyze Excel files, images, create images, clean data sets, do all kinds of things. I'm going to show you how it works in 1 second. The one caveat is to make sure before you upload your data that you look at the file and make sure that it looks clean. And by that, I mean, all the columns have to have a heading and all the rows need to have data. So I'm going to show you an example right now. First, let me show you what this looks like. Code one. Okay, so I'm going to give Code Interpreter a file that looks like this. And what this is the top search queries comparing 2 6-month period of time for clicks, impressions, click-through rates, and position. And it's probably got about 1,200 rows of data. And I've made sure that there's content in everything. And it also has multiple sheets. I'm going to focus only on the first sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this query. We're going to go to okay, so the way you get to Code Interpreter, this is for paid users. You go over here and pass your cursor to ChatGPT 4. You click on Code Interpreter, and then you'll see a little box here. You're going to upload the file. Okay, I'm going to select my file, and I'm going to insert my prompt. And I'm asking it to organize the keywords into topics in a table format in one column. I'm going to give it groupings. I'm also asking it to indicate how many keywords are in each group. So the very first thing it's going to do is to analyze the file, and it's going to tell you what it's looking at. So it's restating everything for me here. So it's saying that it's going to organize the keywords that I asked it to do. It's restating the headings that are there and how I want things grouped. And it's working. And it's coming up with the data. And I wish I was a data scientist. I mean, this is like having your very own data scientist working for you, right? I wish I knew many things I could ask it to do, but this is something that would be useful from an SEO perspective when you're working with large data sets. Well, that 1,200 rows is not very large, but so now it's given me this data, okay, and it's made its observations for me. So now I'm going to go back here and I'm going to ask it to do more things for me. So usually it's best just to ask it one question at a time, but I'm going to try to push it and ask it a few questions. So I wanted to know what important top queries are declining in Google ranking position. So this is really insightful if you want to be able to take a look at your data and say, okay, we're not doing very well in these keywords. And obviously, as an SEO professional, you know how to move forward in that. Okay, so I'm hoping it gets stuck here so I can show you what to do. So sometimes it just stops and you're not sure if it's thinking. Oh, it's still writing. Okay, so if it does stop and just hang, you just type continue. Okay. Okay, so now it's going to do my second question. And it looks like it's working on my third part. So I asked it to show me all the branded keywords in one group based on my company name. And now it's giving me a comparison of the data. And now it's analyzing it. So that's pretty darn cool. Okay. So in another, any questions?
Yeah, Rosemary, this is Manny. Thanks for the presentation. You're doing a great job. Using that feature, could you actually calculate date and time? You know, we're at a start time and an end time. Would it calculate and then sort it so that I could, you know, maybe do some cost savings by estimating what times are taking the longest? Did you try any of those type of complex calculations? And again, thanks again for the presentation.
But it should absolutely be able to do that. I'm not sure what would have to be in the table. You'd have to have that date field in there, right? For it to.
That's right, just the exact date and time something started, and also another column with the exact date and time where it ended. So I'd want to know in minutes, right? What were the total minutes that something took? Like maybe a support call. Support call started at this time and ended here. I want to know all the ones that had the highest, you know, calls. Hey, we got, you know, this many at this time.
I'm like 99% sure it can do that. I mean, the things that I have seen others do with Code Interpreter are just blow my mind. So I think that you can do so many things, and there are lots of examples online that will help you understand how to, you know, how it can work with certain kinds of data. And at the end, I'm just going to give you a few links to who I think the best resources are for reading. And Ethan Mollick is one of the best, and he does a lot with Code Interpreter.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Rosemary,
Yeah.
this is Linda Popke. Have you looked at, when you got a response like this, have you looked at it yourself to make sure there's no hallucinations or errors? How confident are you in what you're getting is absolutely correct?
So with Code Interpreter, I'm very confident that it's
Okay.
correct, because it's not guessing what the next word should be.
Okay.
It's using Python code.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So you shouldn't have to worry about that. Okay.
Hey, Rosemary, one more question. Is it possible to export the file back out?
Yes. Let's see. So let's see. There is show work. So you can output from here. Did you see that? Oh, can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
I lost the green bar around it. Okay, so do you see this? So this allows you to look at whatever Code Interpreter is doing. Okay.
But really, in all reality, you still have to check the results. You can't trust it.
Well, that's not what I'm hearing, but I think you always have to test everything, right? Unless it's a pivot table that's pulling directly from data. But I don't think it's realistic if you have a large data set. I guess you can do random checks to see if it's working okay. Okay. So plugins and extensions. So I just want to be clear about the difference between a plugin and an extension. So an extension is what you see in here. So these are in the browser, and these are Chrome extensions. They are different than plugins. Plugins are what you add to ChatGPT, and they allow you to do, a vast amount of analysis with different tools. But let me go to this slide first. So there's now about 800 this morning ChatGPT plugins, and navigating them is a huge challenge. They're not organized in a logical way. I mean, now you can at least search. You couldn't a month or two ago. I have some real reliability concerns because sometimes I'm getting an unverified plugin appearing. You could only have 3 plugins active at one time. You can have many plugins installed, but you can only have 3, what they call being active. It's a horrible interface. I try not to use it if I can find a better alternative. Once again, you're still, if you're going to be doing a lot of work in AI, you know, you're still limited to the 25 queries every 3 hours. And ChatGPT decides which plugin it's going to use unless you tell it otherwise. So let me show you how you get to this. We're going to go over here, and this is only available to paid users, and you go to plugins. And you can see here, let's see. So now to see all the plugins, you have to go here, you have to scroll to the bottom, you have to go to the plugin store, and this is the plugin store. So this is all the plugins, and the best you can do is search for something. So you could search for everything related to PDFs, and there are 3 pages of plugins right now for PDFs. So so far there's no rating system, which I think would be useful to have. I'm trying to bring out. The other thing I found is that you get some, let's see, you can get this unverified. So even though something is unverified, which I don't really know what that means, the plugin still works and it still appears in the store. So one of the ways to force it to use a plugin that you like is to do /start and then the plugin. So I'm going to take, let me just look over here. Okay, so I'm going to ask it, like, just remember that these plugins are powered by third-party applications. And, you know, it's great that ChatGPT has a store, but it's really not the app store that Apple has, for example. It doesn't go through the vetting from what we can see, or we wouldn't have these unverified. So the reason it's a challenge to use is, okay, I have to go through this list, which, well, it's not always in alphabetical order. It is often not in alphabetical order, which makes it really hard to find things. So I now have Ask Your PDF, Chat OCR. Let's see if there's another PDF one here. Okay, see, there's another one that should probably be there. Okay, so I'm going to select those, and down here I'm copying in. For right now, I'm not going to tell it which one to use. And let me show you what I'm doing here. I'm taking this document about ChatGPT behavior, which is 23 pages, and I'm going to ask it to give me the key takeaways. So it is now deciding which one it's going to use. So sometimes it'll start with one plugin and then go to another one. So now with that PDF, I'm able to, I don't have to read 24 pages, which is really nice. And now I have the output. And because it's reading that PDF, I'm not really worried that I'm going to have bad data in here. So another thing, okay, so any questions about how the plugins work, how to start them?
Hey, Rosemary, this is Ash. So I have a question. So when you upload a PDF or you point it to a PDF, ask it for a prompt based on that PDF. I've run like experiments with a few hundred different PDFs since March. What I found was the rate of hallucinations reduces like drastically. It's like 25-30% if you don't ask it to limit itself to a particular PDF or piece of content. The rate of hallucinations goes down from like 25% to less than 5%. Is that something you have seen or has been like systematically tested?
Well, I'm asking it in this instant to read this PDF right here, right? So
Are you though explicitly saying limit yourself to this PDF and don't go outside the boundaries of this PDF? Like don't add other information from the internet to what you're reading here. Like explicitly limit yourself to the information found in this PDF and don't go anywhere else.
yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And the reason I'm not for 100% sure is ChatGPT, you know, it itself doesn't have access to the internet. So this is asking it only to go to that PDF.
Got it. Have you seen hallucinations in this case at all?
I can't say that I have seen hallucinations, no. But then I didn't read all 24 pages. And the point of using this is so that I don't have to read that. And if I read this and something doesn't look right, then I would go back and try to find that piece within the document. So I'm not really worried. I mean, everything needs your own review and analysis. Okay.
So Rosemary, I've definitely seen hallucinations above 1,000 words.
So let me show you something that's
Even if you tell it to only use the document, even if you say you may only use the document I'm giving you.
okay. Well, I can't say that I have. If you have, yes, I can imagine that happens.
Yeah,
So wait,
thanks,
so you're
Sean.
saying, Rich, that under 1,000 words, you don't see them?
Under
was Sean.
300, you're probably safe. 300 to 500. As you get, as the word count goes up,
Yep.
it's more inclined to bring stuff in. Even if you say using only this document I'm providing,
Yep.
it'll hallucinate.
Got it. That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna, a tool that I really, really like for PDFs is called Claude by Anthropic. And here's the reason it's so cool, is because I can upload multiple documents here. Let me just show you what I mean. So I'm gonna upload all of these documents. It can do 5 at a time, okay? And then I have to wait until it uploads those documents. It has a very, very large memory, Anthropic does, compared to ChatGPT. So I'm going to ask it to, in these 5 PDFs, focus on AI tools for marketers in different industries. So these are all PDFs by Marketing AI Institute, and I want Claude to go and tell me what the tools are. And it's thinking over here, it's reading its documents. And these documents are probably in the neighborhood of between 50 and 25 pages each. So I've asked it to tell me extract the most relevant information for each PDF and let me know what the big differences are. So this is an awesome tool. Right now it's free. I would certainly use it as another way to check things. So I'm not going to go through each of these different slides on plugins. You'll have this presentation and you can go and look at these. I tested many. I also, when I did my testing, I would test it one day, I'd come back days later, the same plugin wouldn't work. So I just became so frustrated using plugins. Maybe it's better now, but I'd rather just go to Anthropic. And so you can take a look at this. This is enough information to give you ways to start. There's also, you can stitch together multiple questions and plugins. So you might want to try this. There's a live link so you can see what the output looks like. And I think here's some of the ones that I think work the best, depending on what your need is. So you can give it, depending on whether you're looking for video to create videos or business research, whatever. And these are my top reading essential places. So since I started this in January, it has just become impossible to stay current on the best stuff. And so these 3 places, I believe, give you the best information. Ethan Mollock, he writes all the time. He's with Wharton. He's a great writer. The AI Exchange, it's got wonderful stuff. I think I had to pay, I don't know, maybe $100 for this, but there's so much great content in here that you know it's worth it, and it's presented in such a great way. Marketing AI Institute, they publish all the time specific to marketing, and then of course to the web's resources. We have a prompt book for marketers that's about 40 prompts. A lot of you said that you didn't have an AI policy in your companies. We wrote one so that you can use this if you wish. And then we also have the prompt newsletter, which is rather infrequent updates about what's going on. So are there any questions that we haven't covered?
Yeah. So Rosemary, I do want people to chime in on the chat, but in sequence, I'm just going to capture some of these from Audrey. Can you elaborate on the temperature function? Do you know what makes the output precise? Any information about what's under the hood there? Because for hallucinations, especially for the quantitative, I don't want hallucinations. I want that temperature to be what, ice cold?
So you want it to be precise. You want the lowest number. I do not know what's happening in the background.
Okay. Couple other questions quickly. Improvements between 3.5 and 4. This is from Ashwath. Andy, in terms of hallucinations, anything else? You've used both 3, 5, and 4. How would you summarize those improvements? Pretty significant, or?
Totally significant, right? It's like the difference between, you know, shopping at the dollar store and shopping at Nordstrom's, really.
Okay, well, and Andy chimed in and said 4 is a lot faster.
Oh, it's not faster. It's not faster. It's slower.
Oh, it's not.
No, it's not faster.
Okay. Again, subjective to someone's experience. Ashwath also asks, are there any drawbacks to using custom instructions? You know, that was the first time I saw custom instructions. Pros and cons there, Rosemary?
So, because it's still pretty new, I haven't seen any cons yet. I think what's going to happen is I use it more and more and see the output is I'm going to keep refining what I tell it in box 2.
Okay.
Box 2 is going to be the big thing.
Okay. And sorry to move quickly. I want to get to other questions on the chat. Manny asks, is there a system attribute returned with the data which shows the temperature or confidence level? You could then use that attribute to evaluate accuracy. I think you're onto something. I just haven't used the temperature setting, Manny. Rosemary, does that sound like something you've seen?
No, I don't really think I can comment on that.
Okay. Okay. I'll just open it up. I do want to ask Patty, you have your hand up. I don't know if that was earlier you were raising your hand to respond to Rosemary's question, if there's interest in AI for designers, or if you have a question, you can come off mute or chat it in if you want. And then if anyone wants to come off mute and just ask Rosemary a question or in the chat, we still have about 9 minutes. Anyone? Bueller?
Okay, I have a question. This is Linda. I put this in the chat, but Rosemary, do you know if there's any plugins or tools or something to help build properly formatted citations for books and papers? Because that is something that every single author hates and hates and hates, and so do editors. Do you know if there's anything like that?
No, I haven't seen anything like that, but obviously if you just Google search that, you probably
Maybe we
find.
should build it and sell it. Okay.
Yeah, build it and that's what you should do.
Right.
Thanks.
Great. Thanks for that, Linda. And by the way, it's also great to see so many community members, familiar faces, and newcomers as well. Ludberg asks, where can we obtain the presentation? I know our replay of this will be on YouTube, but Rosemary, is this something you might make available, or?
I am going to make it and I'm going to put it in the chat right now.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And speaking of the chat, I appreciate Ashwath. You did ask before you shared that chat. Ashwath, do you want to talk a little bit about what you're up to with your request for some input?
Yeah, hey, thanks so much, Rich. I really, and I was cognizant that this is a forum. I don't mean to market or sell here.
No, not at all.
So yeah, I have been working since March on generative AI or a content creation or campaign creation idea using generative AI. And I just input my email and LinkedIn in the chat. So if anyone, if you want to just know more about it, I'm just seeking validation and input on the product. I'm not trying to sell here. So please reach out to me. It's basically it's like there are other companies, of course, bigger companies, Jasper, Copy, who are doing a lot of it from the content creation side, almost like a writing assistant for marketing and sales generated content. What I'm trying to create are like hallucination-free campaign kits that are ready to go, so that you put your content out in the market, social media, press releases, things like that. And it's almost hallucination free, which is why I was asking so many questions about hallucinations. So yeah, how do you get to market quickly using all the assets that you have? So that's what I'm trying to think about.
Very good. Very good. Well, thanks for that.
I'm not sure if this applies to you, but the customgpt.ai website is where you can create your own LLM with your own data. So you might want to check that out too.
Absolutely. Thanks for that tip.
And then because we're all marketers here, you might be interested. This is like 81 pages of different prompts that you can try for different workflows. So there's a lot of data in here, and I think you might find some useful things in there.
Now,
We could have ChatGPT analyze that for us, right?
right.
You know what, Linda?
We could have ChatGPT analyze that 81-page document for us.
Well, you know what, Linda? The file size is too big.
The file
Oh,
size
no.
is too big.
You'd have to chunk it up, right? So, Rosemary, is that through your prompt newsletter? I know you do a newsletter. Is that how do people get your prompts? Or are you just going to share that with everyone?
I'm going to, yes, I'll share the URL in the chat. It's also in the presentation. So did everybody see the, let's see, I can't tell if I did it twice there. Okay.
Yeah, you're sharing as Dennis because he can't be with us today. So yeah, I see the links. Does everyone see them? And can you maybe just test them, click on them, see if you can get to them?
Yeah, they work.
Good deal.
And then I'm also going to put this one in because this is one of the big issues. I don't know if it's happening, if you're working with big enough companies, or is that they're so reluctant to bring in ChatGPT, to allow their users to use ChatGPT, because they're so afraid of what's going to happen with their data. And ChatGPT is supposed to be this year coming out with something called ChatGPT Business, which of course they wrote one line about, which we only can assume is an enterprise grade ChatGPT, so that enterprises can pay well and like pay, for license for large numbers of team members, rather than this issue we have now when individual people have to pay from their own account and expense it, which is a hassle for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quick question, something I've been looking for forever and have not been able to find, and I'm curious if you've seen it. I'm teaching an MBA marketing course in a few weeks, and I have all of the slides from the publisher, but their speaker notes are horrific. And I've been looking for a tool that will analyze the slides and give me better speaker notes. Have
Yeah,
you seen
sure.
anything like
You,
that?
right, right. So what format are they in?
Well, they're in PowerPoint, but I could PDF them. I just tried Claude and it didn't really do a very good job. And it only did the first 5 slides. And it didn't really give like accurate speaker notes for the slides.
So you can try Chat OCR for the PDF.
Okay.
Okay, I would try that one. That's probably the best one to use.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Rosemary, as we get close to time here, I just put it in the chat. Hopefully I didn't misinterpret the intention, but our next meetup, I think, is Rosemary, right? You're going to be doing these monthly to keep us apprised of AI and ChatGPT.
Well, that's the plan. I may not,
Okay.
I may miss a couple months because I'm gonna go hiking, but yes, I mean, I don't know exactly what we're gonna cover, but I just know that between now and the next 4 weeks, there's gonna be some new stuff that hits, right?
Very good. Very good. Well, I see in the chat a lot of thank yous to you, Rosemary, for an excellent presentation. And thank you, everyone, for attending. We just have a few minutes left if there are any other questions. And I do want to ask, Rosemary, again, your prompt newsletter, how would people subscribe to that?
Right, okay,
There's your free plug.
right. So this is,
And Karen asked if you use Bard or other tools while you bring up your newsletter.
so no, I don't use Bard, and I would give it a pass for now. Because it's
Okay.
still funky. So I would use Bing because it connects to the internet. I would use ChatGPT, and then Claude is the runner-up. So those are the ones I would focus on for right now.
Okay.
And also, if people have questions, you can let me know, right?
Very good.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosemary.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Rich, did you see the chat thread? I'm trying to see if I want to see all the questions.
Yeah, and you gotta love the grassroots
Okay,
nonprofit volunteer meetup here. We'll do production notes on air. You stop recording, yeah?
oh, no.
Oh, yeah, Madhavan. It'll be on our YouTube channel. I can chat it real quick if you're still online here. Hang on one moment. Dennis, we can edit this all in post.
Yeah,
right?
I'm here.